congrats on your Bloomberg debut yesterday. That was very exciting.
Thank you.
So proud just to see you on all the shows, but that was a big moment. And I noticed you talked about the technology sector and how they have been doing this earnings season, but there was something about CapEx spend and how that has to do with AI and Nvidia.
Yes. Why, thank you, Jesse. This rounds out the big four. I can't believe that happened, but we can talk about that later. I laughed so hard on there because I try not to talk about Nvidia anytime that I write an AI research report because it's talked about so much, but you can't talk about AI without talking about Nvidia. You can't. But my research proves that, and so does this earnings season. So I guess this episode will too.
Well, do tell. The inquiring minds want to know.
Here we go.
You're listening to Market Maker, the self-directed investing education podcast that demystifies the world of investing and breaks down complex financial concepts from her perspective. That's us. We're her. No finance bros here.
No finance bros, because you're better with your finance sis. Like my hat.
Yes.
Shameless merch plug here.
That's right. Available now on the website.
It is. We had some really fun sayings. Really, we had too much fun. You will laugh. If you're new here, welcome. If you're a regular, welcome back. We're your host. I'm Jessica Inskip. I act as the teacher. I've been working in the self-directed investing space for 15 years and counting. I've worked at Scottrade, which doesn't exist anymore, bought by TD Ameritrade, Fidelity, and Merrill. I was licensed for 10 of those years and gave up my financial licenses because of the misinformation and lack of information on social media. Currently, I'm on CNBC, Fox Business, Yahoo Finance, the Schwab Network, and now Bloomberg, talking markets.
Oh, are they going to have you back?
They are. Oh my gosh. So they come in your ear. That sounded weird.
Edit that out. Or not.
Random people talk in your ear. And when I was done, they came back in my ear and said, "Hey, we'd love to have you back on again." And then I immediately got an email. So that was really great. So yes, definitely
exciting. Of course.
Yeah,
I am not surprised because you were a genius. Who wouldn't want to have you back on their show?
I'm surprised because I don't know why. Imposter syndrome. Anyways.
We're going to get rid of that this year. And speaking of imposter syndrome, I am Jessie Denui. I am literally learning alongside you because I didn't know anything about investing before we started this podcast. And I selfishly convinced Jess to start this podcast with me so I can learn how investing works. Because in this country, at least, we got to learn how to take care of our future selves. And if your money is sitting in a low interest savings account, it will lose value over time due to inflation, as most of us hopefully know by now. So let's learn how to do that thing rich people do where you make your money make money.
Yeah. Jesse, you've come so long. You speak the language now. So together, we're on a mission to make you finfluent, not finfluenced.
That's right. We're all about you understanding how money can work for you. This podcast is teacher learner style. Jess will be teaching us all, and I'll be asking all the clarifying questions along the way to make sure we stay out of financial jargon land because she does get very jargony. Can't help it.
We categorize our content in 3 ways. We educate and explain, keep it current, and tell you how to apply it on your self-directed investing journey. Today, we are keeping it current.
And we always educate and explain because this is a financial literacy podcast after all. Okay, Jess, what is on the agenda for today?
So first and foremost, I wish I could play the Bloomberg clip, but due to copyrights, it would be flagged so quickly. But that would just be such a great series to take clips and then just break it down. Alas, we cannot. Sure. But
go watch it, everyone.
We'll like it. This will be our 3rd episode on the AI investment thesis. So we're kind of doing it in a progressive state, which I think is fun and necessary. It makes sense. And we're making some good calls. So
by we, you mean you, but yes.
I mean, you're a part of it too, because you help explain. And I think we should start there though, like continue on the progression. So 1, talk about the AI revolution, what stage we are in that. What does that road look like according to Jensen Huang, the CEOs, the people involved in this AI revolution? 2, tech earnings so far. We're in the midst of earnings season. Our last smile We had a little stock market update where we got you prepared for earnings season. Let's talk about what's going on specifically in the tech sector. 3, the Nvidia ecosystem, why they are still a big player. 4, anytime we give you any positives, we have to balance it. So we need to talk about challenges and risks to this investment thesis. It's always important to bring that up. And 5, if we have time, review what makes a stock overvalued or undervalued, which I suspect we will do throughout, but I wanted to throw that out there.
And we have done some episodes on PE ratio and talked about it a little bit here and there, but yeah, always good to talk about.
For sure. And the goal today is just to understand the AI investment thesis. We're going to expand on it more to empower our beautiful listeners to make informed decisions. This is not investment advice. We are an educational and informational podcast only. Disclosure.
Right.
Disclosure.
All right, Jess, let's discuss. Where are we with this AI revolution?
So I think we're still early on because I read this really fun stat or research report when we had the invention of steam. Do you know how long it took us before we got into the Industrial Revolution in between like steam and...
How long did it take?
200 years.
Yeah.
Long time. But totally different episode. Any type of revolution that we've had, as in the world, is compounding. It's quicker every single time. Like, think about steam, industrial, and now we're internet, and then internet to AI. It's so hard to keep up with AI. Like, can you keep up with all the AI releases?
Oh, no.
Yeah. So where we left off, we talked about what it takes to make a large language model come to life. That was the first episode. And then the second episode, we talked about the PE risk, which is the price to energy ratio, how now there's this like huge demand, there's pressure on the grid. How are they going to do that? And that's still a problem, but that's where we were. And then where we are, have you heard anything about artificial general intelligence?
Yes. AGI.
We want to see how this translates into revenue. That's how we should think about this whole conversation, is how are companies going to make money off of this, because it also has a big expense. But artificial general intelligence, a robot that can speak and have a conversation with you, like can automate tasks on its own. And we're getting pieces to that, but we're not there yet. That's the road we're on. The race to AGI, this is what we're seeing, is AI agents and AI operators. And we have one.
Yeah, we do. Jess AI, Jessica Supremacy.
She's great.
Yeah.
If artificial general intelligence, the road to that, we actually don't know what that is. Meaning, there was this really interesting article where it was an interview with Mark Zuckerberg and The Verge. We could link that. I saw the critical game theory come to play in there. Do you know the critical game theory?
No. Let's explain.
Yes. So it's basically where the value is so high. People will pay anything to be in the game. They don't know what the prize is yet, but they just want to compete. So
they want to be like on the up, like the verge of this up and coming thing that everyone's like, but like the buzz is around.
Exactly. Everyone wants the best AI thing. Like, remember when, what was Google's first one called? Bard?
Yeah.
Big PR issue. It wasn't as good. Google went down as a result, and Microsoft was the winner because of ChatGPT. Little did we know that that was just the first little step of all the things we were going to get. And now it's not Bard, it's Gemini. Gemini 2.0 was just released yesterday. Amazing.
Yep.
And they have Ask Google, and now we see AI agents like the one in ChatGPT, AI Operator, where literally you can give it instructions and you can supervise it. It will go book you an appointment at a nail salon. It will go book you an oil change. It will go find you the best local restaurant and do it right. That's great.
Which I think like Google has always tried to do with their voice search capabilities and like kind of linking to if you use one of Google products and you use all like if you use all Google's products. I remember going to a conference in Seattle, like a marketing conference years ago, and they were talking about doing this. But I think it's come a long way now, and it's kind of morphed into what it is today. It's way more advanced.
But I think that's an interesting point, Jesse, because maybe that's what is going to give Google such a competitive edge. Because we started with the chips, And in order to train these large language models, you need this chip super powerhouse, but you also need data. Who has the most data, I think, in the world?
You know, I'd say Google, but I don't know. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have a lot of data.
Yeah.
Google has always been very careful with your PEI, like your personal identifiable information with advertising, and other companies like Meta did not care for a while until they had to crack down on it a little bit. So I'm sure Google has way more data on us than they're even willing to let us know.
Sure.
They're just very careful with how they use it so that they don't get in trouble, you know?
Yeah. Well, and they've got some cool products, but I mean, it's not even our personal data. It's just data in general. If you want to teach a large language model to be really good at finance, it needs finance.
Well, and they're the number one, you know, they've been the number one search engine for a very long time. So yeah, they have a ton of like insights around how we search and how our searching as people has evolved over the decades. And they've definitely been keeping tabs on that, even with like the search engine and voice search, and how that language that we use can inform something like AI, right? Because they want to, like, AI needs to be able to talk back to us like it's a human. So being able to teach a robot how to do that is, yeah, they have an advantage of that for sure.
I completely agree. And I think it's so interesting too to think about who the top players are. They all have data and they all have social media presence in some way, shape, or form, which is kind of scary in a way. Like, I'm thinking Amazon, Google, and Meta, those three public companies.
Yeah.
But I digress. We can talk about that more with the earnings aspect, which means that maybe that has to do why there's such big AI players as well. Nonetheless, AI agents.
So when we're talking about AI agents, I think I don't know if we can do like a quick little definition, but we're talking about AI agents. We're talking about AGI, which is artificial general intelligence. And there's also generative AI, which is a little different. So are you able to maybe break those all down real quick for the listeners?
Sure.
Okay.
So we're starting with the large language models, which is what a lot of us are probably used to, ChatGPT. Then you've got your AI overview searches. So AI generated responses, like when you Google and it shows up. Those are step number one, where we're having a conversation. It's giving you information. It's increased productivity, made a huge difference. Now we're moving into AI agents. These are like your assistants. We have one, Jessica I.
Jessica AI. Jess AI.
Yes. Jess AI.
Shout out to our CTO, Dan Green, for making that for us.
He is genius. It's amazing. But literally magic.
Wizardry.
It is wizardry. Pure awesomeness. But Jess AI automates tasks for us, but she also goes and collects data. So AI agents and AI operators are like assistants that do the grunt work for you. So you could focus on other tasks.
Like creating content.
Exactly. Google has one. Ask Google. ChatGPT has one. AI operator. Amazon also has a version where they were working with Australia to offload certain tasks. But fetching data, we've had that for so long, like APIs where you go and you fetch data. Right. You go fetch data, you go find the best data, you interpret that data, and then you figure out which task to do next on your own. That's an AI operator. It has to have another level of intelligence, which is awesome. Yeah. So, and if you think about the road to artificial general intelligence, there's actually this test that was put out, and I cannot remember which model, but there was a model that was released that passed the test, but then the goalpost was changed, which means these models are getting so much smarter. It's amazing.
Okay.
What we want to know for the investment thesis is what's the end goal? Yeah. And then who is taking the action steps to get us to that end goal? The end goal is artificial general intelligence. We don't know what that end goal is, which means now we're in critical game theory, which is all of these big players, hyperscalers we call them, Google, Meta, Amazon, they are spending money. Yeah, Microsoft, because they want to be in the game. They don't know what the prize is. We know it's related to AI.
Right. Is this what you were talking about on Bloomberg yesterday too, when you were asked like why, Anchor was asking you on Bloomberg yesterday when he was saying like, why throw all of this money, like billions of dollars at the wall because we just know we have to invest in it or whatever? Like, is that risky or worth it when investing in a big company like this? Is that kind of what he was getting at?
Yeah. And I think it goes to the vision of things. And I think a great example is Amazon. Amazon originally was a bookstore. It got so much backlash when it wanted to move to AWS. AWS is one of its most profitable things because Amazon had a vision and a good leader. Steve Jobs, also a great example, vision. When you have a visionary running a company, they're not thinking about quarter to quarter like Wall Street is. They're thinking about this bigger vision.
Right.
I think maybe Meta and Zuckerberg is focusing more quarter to quarter than the others, which is showing in the stock. But that also could be his detriment.
Yeah. And like politics aside, because we're not going to get political, we're just going to focus on what we're learning about. We're learning about investing. We all have our opinions for sure on what's going on in that lens. But I don't know some of his like political affiliations. I'm curious how these billionaires who are in this big company, what their political affiliations will do in the long run to affect their stocks, because we're going to see if people actually do start banning these companies and not spending their money there. And if that will actually affect anything, even though they do have a lot in the game with AI and the AI products that people are using. So that will be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think that's a good point though, Jesse, because Trump has said that he would like to bring all this industrial and make America the centralized location for AI. And he introduced a huge spend on AI, like an incredibly huge spend. And he's had lots of closed door meetings with all of the big executives. They were there at the inauguration. And Jensen Huang had a meeting with him a couple weeks ago. And I think Jensen Huang, who's the CEO of NVIDIA, he's the visionary here. He is the visionary leader. And politics aside, whoever's funding you, you're going to want to talk to them, I suppose. Trying to figure out how to say that the right way.
I know. But I mean, talking about what's it called? The critical game, what are we calling it?
Critical game theory.
Critical game theory.
You just want to be in the game.
Part of it. Yeah. They're all trying to be in the game. And yeah, I mean, if you're invested in the S&P 500, you're invested in these companies. So it behooves you, if you're trying to use that to have a retirement one day, to like kind of know what these big companies are doing, and to keep up with it all. And AI is such a big part of it, and it's obviously not going away anytime soon.
No.
I don't know if we're going to talk about DeepSeek or not, but there's a lot else coming out around it, and I think it's going to evolve in a lot of ways, and it's good to be on top of everything. So, okay.
It's driving the market. It's driving the market. Yeah.
Well, the AI race is still in its early stages, with the ultimate goal of artificial general intelligence, or AGI. AI operators and agents, such as those released by OpenAI and Google, are driving new capabilities. That's kind of the recap there, right?
Yeah. So the road to that super intelligence starts with smarter, just reiterating on these large language models and how they morph and evolve, like Pokemon, until we get to Mew. It's made the nerdiest.
You gotta catch them all. Catch all those AI stuff. Well, do your homework. Anyway. All right. So speaking of homework, what's happening with tech earnings so far? I know. So Google beat, Amazon beat, Meta beat, and they're also spending more on AI now, right?
Exactly. So this AI infrastructure capital expenditure surge. Yes. So they're beating. The market is, what is it, Jesse?
Are you forward looking?
Yes. It is forward looking. So the market cares, even if you beat on earnings, it moves on forward guidance too. And so what they're telling us is, yeah, we beat on revenues and we beat earnings, but we're going to spend more on AI. And then even though they did really well, the stock goes down because of the spend. There's also, because of fiscal policy and what's happening, the dollar is getting really strong, and that can hurt big tech companies because of the conversion. I think we talked about that on episode 2 so long ago.
Yeah.
So that's
yeah. What do you mean by the conversion? Let's like to better.
So like, you know, if you were to go to Europe right now, because we have a strong dollar, it would cost less for you.
Right.
So if you're selling an iPhone in Europe, you're billing in pounds and you convert those pounds back to dollars. See what I mean?
Yeah.
It is a hit to your revenue unless you hike the prices.
And if you hike the prices in Europe, yeah, then, you know, you might have less sales, but.
Exactly. Yeah. It's balance of everything, but our strong dollar has an impact on tech companies more than anything. People who are globally interconnected.
Like, why is capital expenditure important to pay attention to? You're talking about tech earnings in this CapEx surge. So why is that important to pay attention to for self-directed investors?
Spending in general, regardless of where it's coming from. It's like, great, we had more revenue. Cool, we're going to spend it. You know, are we seeing fruits of that labor yet? So they keep spending in AI, but are they making money off of the AI?
Like, so throwing all that money into it, and it's like, okay.
And it's huge.
Pan out.
Huge. Yeah. So Alphabet in 2024, they spent $52.5 billion.
Yeah.
They plan to spend 75 this year. Yep. Microsoft.
So much money.
80 billion.
Wow.
Meta, they increased theirs by over 60% to reach 65 billion. So they're actually the lower spend of them all, which is
and so that's their capital expenditure. Like, they're basically investing
towards AI.
Towards AI specifically.
Just a brief moment and a note on this. The highest spend is Microsoft towards AI and cloud infrastructure expansion. Microsoft's primary AI-ish thing is ChatGPT and OpenAI, right? That was closed source. A closed source. Meta is spending the least, and that's open source. Llama.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Jessica AI is built off of that.
Yeah.
So open source puts good minds together, and it's very interesting to go through like letters to shareholders or looking at where companies are hiring. You can get in a deep rabbit hole, but you can literally see, oh, they're focusing more on these AI things, or there's this need for this. If you can see where a company is hiring and get an idea of what they're focusing on.
Can't you use the Edgar database to look at
you can
like, kind of reverse engineer this?
You can, yes. But without getting too sidetracked, because we are very good at that.
Yeah.
Especially in these topics, because there's so much. There really is. These people are spending to buy shovels to dig for gold.
Right.
Who do we think is selling the shovels?
Oh, that is such a good way to look at it. I'm guessing it's Nvidia, since they're the ones that have all those, like, the chips needed, right?
That's right. Yep.
Right. There are a lot of chip stocks. Yeah. Why is that why Nvidia is the ruler of all?
Well, there's so much more to this. Also, Jim Cramer, which it's his birthday today. Happy birthday!
Oh, happy birthday, Jim!
Yeah, big 7-0, which I would never have guessed. Actually, that's
not me either.
Amazing. He calls Jensen Huang the Da Vinci of AI. Which is, I love. He actually named his dog NVIDIA, and he also gets shelter dogs, which I really love. It is very nice. Nonetheless, NVIDIA has the chips that are required for all of these models, but NVIDIA is doing so much more. It is an AI ecosystem. Jensen Huang is the one who is betting on the long game. He is not looking at it quarter to quarter. He has this vision of artificial general intelligence and a road to get there, but he is creating this moat around NVIDIA because there are other players that make chips. There are other chip makers, but there are no other NVIDIAs.
Writing those down. I have to do homework on those.
Oh, this is, yeah. Well, we're focusing on NVIDIA right now, though. So let me tell you why. A great example, or the reason why, is actually CUDA. CUDA is a software layer that is on top of the GPUs. So The GPU's like the engine. Need this to run AI.
Okay.
And then CUDA is the software, hardware, software, right? To make it work seamlessly.
Okay.
And that's their strategic advantage. It creates this moat that reinforces the AI ecosystem, really.
Yeah.
So good example. Like, and I feel like they've quietly done this too, because I listen to finance media all day. I'm on finance media.
Right.
Like, think about EVs. Autonomous driving. That's on the road to AGI. Like, AGI means, think about like iRobot without the tragic ending, hopefully, where we have robots in our everyday life. We have autonomous driving. Like, artificial intelligence will make us move forward. And I know that seems difficult to comprehend, but I think about the world without the internet and we all would be lost. And I am imagining that is exactly what AGI would be, is we would be lost, because it's that big of a revolution that falls into every vertical. You use the internet if you are in construction, you use it if you are in healthcare. Like, it does not matter what sector you're in. It's not just confined to technology. And the same is true with artificial intelligence. And it all points back to the person selling the shovels, which is Nvidia. But they're not just selling the shovels, they're just selling you the map. The way to, it's insane. So, really good example with his bet on the physical world of AI is the integration into just vehicles. So to get the architecture, you need the GPUs, those general processing units.
Yeah.
And that's Blackwell. And it's also interesting to think about how they transformed, because it started as gaming to get you really good graphics. And now these really powerful chips can get you really good data processing.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, you've got like AGX Orin or DriveThor, which are custom accelerators and these proprietary operating systems that work for the autonomous driving on these EVs. Because Tesla wants autonomous driving. We've got Waymo that does autonomous driving all in San Fran, run off of these things. And then if you want to train your autonomous driving, they have simulated autonomous systems like Omniverse and Cosmos, where it's like a augmented reality where you can train your autonomous driving to be better. That's an end-to-end solution.
You know, I think we talked about this before, like it's a gold rush who's selling the shovels. And like, it's when we talk to everyone, we tell y'all to do your homework. This is what we're talking about. Like, think about the full picture, not just like the visionaries, of course, but like, think about like all the components that are going into this AI revolution. It's interesting. But so that would be like, you know, the positives to look for. What about the headwinds? Like something that could inhibit the progress in the finance world. That's what headwinds mean. So what would be the challenges and the risks here?
Oh, good question. And important to talk about, because we need to balance everything out.
Investing involves risk, so.
It does. Well, and things could go wrong, and then you have to adjust. You just do. There are ups and downs. That's why the market moves
yes, as we've been seeing.
Yes, yeah.
And there are disruptors like DeepSeek or whoever, you know, and like things go down and they go back up, and so yeah.
So true. The one thing the market hates is uncertainty, which leads to some risks. One, geopolitical. Nvidia, they rely heavily on the Taiwan semiconductors for chip manufacturing. If something happens there where they can't, it's going to be expensive to move for that reliancy. There is a potential Samsung partnership that may mitigate that risk. Diversification mitigates risk, literally. But that's a geopolitical risk that leads to a supply chain risk. There isn't a demand issue, but if you can't make the chips that everybody wants, what are you gonna do?
Similar to how in 2020 the COVID pandemic was a headwind, because that also limited supply chain issues, like that caused issues, right? So it's always good to like consider all of the things, you know, and that's why we say investing is long term, all that stuff. But yeah, part of your homework.
Absolutely. You miss your earnings, you don't make your sales. The market looks at that.
And also, though, remember, don't be emotional, because like we said, they go down, they go up, you're on the roller coaster ride, depending on what you're investing for. But yeah.
Look through the noise. Be Jensen Huang. Think about the vision.
The vision.
The vision. Second, competitive pressure. And that's from open source AI too, because the open source movement altogether, it attracts top developers. Probably a great question for Dan.
Yeah,
but
we should have had Dan on this episode. Dan, if you're listening,
okay.
We're gonna do something.
You're a guest.
We could
Dan.
do a TikTok live, like while we still have TikTok, or we'll have him on.
But that could challenge proprietary ecosystems. But open source means that you've got the best heads working on something. They love this new release. They're going to make a cool product with it. Like Dan gets super excited. He makes Jessica AI do some crazy stuff. I mean, one time she wrote an entire transcript and came up with a new podcast episode when she was supposed to be writing ours. So, but people like that who are incredible love to play with new toys and then innovate and make them even more amazing. And that's competitive pressure.
Yeah.
And that's a risk. And then last, and certainly not least, high cost of AI implementation. Building out a fully integrated AI ecosystem requires a significant investment, which may impact short-term profitability, which we're seeing from the hyperscalers. They have reported this earnings season that they are spending more. They're spending more on infrastructure. They're spending more on cloud spend. They're running out of capacity. It's not a demand problem. It's supply problem.
And that's like, when President Trump was talking about wanting, the USA to be number one in AI or whatever, there is a big investment needed in infrastructure for that, or so we thought, right? But then DeepSeek came out with their open source AI that didn't rely on nearly as much as some of the other companies have spent on it. Well, so I don't know. What do you think?
I have some thoughts on that. I'm not finished doing my homework on this one, but this is my thesis that DeepSeek, said they used a specific amount of chips. They didn't disclose their R&D budget. I did find that, which is a bigger amount. There was another report by an analyst that goes through in detail what it takes to make these large language models, and they didn't disclose other things. And China has made a significant infrastructure AI investment. And if they made that, in the billions, if they made that big of an investment, did DeepSeek really cost that little?
They just had a better infrastructure to stand on, maybe already.
I'm not sure. They also have incentives to not be true too, because it would lead to possible sanction implications.
Yeah.
They can't have these NVIDIA chips. And it's not like they can smuggle them in. They're the size of a fridge for what they would need. But maybe they got access. Maybe some of the chips were sold to Singapore. And then China got it from Singapore. We don't know.
Yeah.
But we don't know for sure if that large language model, DeepSeek, that was trained from a hedge fund.
I love a disruptor, and I love open source anything. I think it's a great concept. But we don't know the full picture. Yeah, you're right.
We don't.
And that's why don't be an emotional investor.
But either way, even if they did, great. It's more efficient.
Yeah.
That means it's going to get us on the road to artificial general intelligence. It's not about who has the best large language model. That's a short term, that is a nearsighted thing. It is not about that. It is about artificial general intelligence, and that requires efficiency. And if there is more efficiency, great.
Yeah. If it can use less energy and put less pressure on the grid and things like that, great. Because that's a big issue.
Yep. And these earnings calls and these numbers that we cited came out after the DeepSeek disruptor. And so they don't believe it. And they're saying we're still spending more, guys. So
yeah. Well, it'll be an interesting development. That's for sure.
That it will be. NVIDIA still has, 3 weeks until their earnings?
Well, as we know, time is a concept. It's not real.
That's right. February 26th is when we'll have NVIDIA earnings.
Okay.
Everyone with their NVIDIA earnings watch parties.
Yeah.
I believe that's a thing.
Okay.
The world we live in.
I know.
I love it. All right. Well, there's your update.
That was a great AI update, and NVIDIA as well, because I know a lot of our listeners have been asking for that. So you're welcome, everyone. And thank you, Jess.
Sure.
If you have more questions, I know a lot of you have been sending us emails and commenting on all the different platforms. Again, two-woman team until Dan helps us with our AI agent that can maybe answer some questions too. But it's just us two, so we are trying to get to them all. Thank you, as always, for supporting us, listening, sharing, subscribing, being here with us on this learning journey.
Yes. And thank you so much for all your lovely comments and reviews and questions. And we have some super exciting news. Our merch shop is open. It is full of we had a lot of fun.
By we, she means her, because I actually understand a lot of the references now, but it's, look, there's something for everyone. For you, if you're a finance person yourself, you're the finance bro in your life, if you're a finance sis like us, if you know someone, or if you're learning like me, there's a little something for everyone. Maybe I'll come up with some, but Jess has come up with a lot of great stuff.
I mean, we've made some goth versions for you, Jesse.
Yes.
They're fun.
I'll be repping those.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. So my favorite one, there is the perfect candlelit dinner, where
it was a genius one you came up with.
Thank you. It is a girl sitting on a date with a wine glass and a candle, but then she has her laptop and a candlestick chart, and it's amazing.
It's literally Jess.
It's the one I made for me. The one I made for Jesse, it says index funds and chill with skeleton heart hands.
Oh, I thought it was the metal sign, but
oh, is that what that was? I thought it was heart hands.
It was the horns, the metal horns. No, we'll make that.
Oh yeah, it was the metal horns.
We should.
I had another version. We should. Yeah. Yes, I did make a men's version with a glass of whiskey, as Twitter asked me to. Just didn't reply and let them know.
Yes.
We also have if you work at finance, you will get this because it's hilarious. Blue Horseshoe loves index funds, which is just a gem.
Because you explained it to me.
It's just a gem. And lots of index funds and chill. And there's a lot of other ones, as I consulted with all of my finance friends, and wow, did they come up with some good ones.
Yes. If you have any ideas you'd like to send us, just remember, selling this merch helps us continue our mission of free financial literacy for all. So, you're doing a good deed by buying something or coming up with something for us to sell. We appreciate you.
Yes, we do. And it's super fun. Nonetheless, thank you for being here on this journey with us.
And remember, when you build knowledge,
you break barriers.
Remember, investing involves risk. There is always potential to lose money when investing in securities. MakeHer provides educational content and resources for informational purposes only. We are not registered financial advisors and do not provide personalized investment advice. Any information provided by MakeHer on our website or podcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional financial advice. MakeHer is not liable for any investment decisions made based on our content.